Okay, hello and welcome to the first episode of Jeffrey Traverses Film, is what I think I've decided on calling it. Little background. I'm Jeffrey, obviously that wouldn't make any sense to be anybody else. 20 years old, just shy 21, and going through the New York Times top 1,000 movies. That'd be a good way to, get interested more into film. I've always wanted to, be way into it, but, you always just watch the same shit over and over again. So here, I think, is a good chance for me to, try and find some new movies, and then keep, a video log, review all the movies. I guess just a bit of a warning, I'm going to spoil all these movies. They're not really, reviews where I'm like, hey, you should see it too! It's more just I'm gonna go over what the fuck happened, and then give you my take on it, my very weird take. So the first movie that was chosen by random was The Unbearable Lightness of Being, which stars Daniel Day-Lewis and... sorry, I have some little, cheat notes over here because I can't remember who the fuck else was in it. Oh, shit. Juliette Binoche and Lena Olin. And those are the three main ones. It's directed by Philip Kaufman. It was first a book, I guess. And the movie came out in 1988. Okay, so we'll just dive right in. It stars, it's about the main guy, Daniel Day-Lewis, plays Thomas, or Tomas, or Tomaj, they say it weird. Fucking Czech people. And it takes place in Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic. I don't really know because it takes place in 1968. And I don't know if it was... I think it's Czechoslovakia, if it's 1968. Yeah. Okay, so stars, it's Daniel Day-Lewis as Tomas, and then he's got this kind of lover bitch, her name's Sabina. And then, so, Tomas goes off to this spa, because he's like a brain... They say brain doctor a lot, and I mean, he's a surgeon, but they keep saying brain doctor, and it sounds really funny to me, but that's just whatever. Alright. So the brain doctor goes to this sort of remote spa area to operate on some dude, and he meets this waitress, Teresa, who she's pretty cute in it, or at least I thought she was really cute. And then he fucking leaves the spa, and then she comes back. She travels to Prague just to see him, and then they end up he fucks her good. But I remember she's fucking taking off her shirt, or he's taking off her shirt, and boom, hairy armpits, I wasn't ready for it. I mean, I'm a man in America, in the aughts. It's 2010 now. I mean, I want to see people clean that shit up. I don't want to see that. So he starts fucking this girl, but he was fucking Sabina for and continues to fuck Sabina. The Thomas, who, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis does a really fucking great job of playing this guy, but he's sort of a douche. The whole time he quotes that he's in love with Teresa, but he's fucking every bitch he meets, and it's really kind of weird. But so I don't know, they're just whatever, and then the Soviets invade. And there's a whole bunch of shit with that. They're not very happy. But I mean, that whole scene where the Soviets are invading, it's shot in a newsreel sort of way. And they play this I can't remember if that's when they play this Czech version of Hey Jude, but that was really fucking cool. It's Hey Jude, da ba ba da, whatever. So that happens. I'm trying to remember what it's a really fucking long movie. I mean, I chose it by random, and of course, the first one I choose is a 3-hour long movie, about the intellectual bourgeoisie in Soviet-occupied Czechoslovakia in the 60s, whatever. Oh, and they get this dog, right? So Teresa and Thomas get this dog, and it's weird, because this lady, they're in a bar, and this lady walks around with a fucking basket that just has dogs in it. She's vending dogs to people. She's hey, you want a dog? And they're yeah, okay. And now they have a dog that they call Corinna, from Anna Karenina. or something. I'm not. I've never read Anna Karenina, so I'm not really that versed in it. Anyway, so Soviets invade Prague or whatever, and they're just like occupying it at that point. And then Sabina leaves. She's like, fuck this noise. I'm going to Switzerland. And um, so then Thomas and Teresa are like, hey, maybe this shit ain't right, because Teresa's like a photographer and she's taking pictures of all the shit that's going down. And then like the Soviets sort of like look at those photos and be like, this is bullshit. You can't show these. And at the same time, sort of around the same time, Thomas writes a letter, or like a little, I don't know, like a little article about how the fucking Soviets should like rip out their eyes like King Oedipus from Oedipus Rex, isn't that what it's called? I think so. So anyway, so that's just for later on. You're gonna need to know that. So then after a while, they're like, let's bounce. We don't need to be here. So they go to Geneva too, and what happens in Geneva? I don't know. It's really, Teresa doesn't really seem to like it a lot, but Thomas doesn't seem to give a shit either way. He's really kind of, he's a real douche, I guess. He just doesn't give a shit about most things. And that's, I think where the title of the name comes from, because they're talking about like the unbearable lightness of being, and Teresa explains that that Thomas just has this lightness, this nonchalantness, or like he doesn't really give a shit about life. Like things happen, he doesn't really care. But Teresa's like so ingrained, and I mean she knows that like Thomas is like fucking around on her, but what's she gonna do? I don't know. Anyway, so Sabina meets Sabina, who is like an artist type. She does a lot of weird things, and she's fucking hot in this movie. She's damn. Everybody's pretty. They're pretty attractive in this movie. I'd fuck Daniel Day-Lewis, and then I'd fuck Teresa. I mean, she might have to shave her armpits, but I'd go for it. I don't give a shit. And then Sabina, bam, she is nice. And there's a lot of fucking going on in this movie, like a lot. Like if you don't watch this with your kids, it's gonna get really uncomfortable really fast. So anyway, Sabina meets this guy Franz, I guess, and he's married, and she seems to always go after that type, and that's sort of her character trait is she's kind of carefree, and she kind of just goes after these people, that are whatever. Anyway, so Franz like leaves his wife, and she's like, oh, we can be together, and she's like, oh yeah, that's great, come back in a bit. And when he comes back, boom, she's moved out, and she's gone to America, I think. At the same time, Teresa can't really stand that Thomas is like fucking around on her, and just she doesn't feel right, so she goes back to Prague, and then Thomas decides to follow her back there eventually, and things seem to be all right. Then they're like, oh yeah, we're back and whatever. So Thomas tries to go back to his job as a brain doctor, I guess. And some guy like comes and he's like, hey, that article you read, you just need to sign this thing that says, oh, I retract this statement, because the Soviets don't want that kind of bullshit. But he's like, hell nah. And then, so he can't get his job back, and so he like starts washing windows, which is kind of weird. Brain doctor washing windows. And eventually, I mean, he's still fucking around her, like, even this late in it. And then, they're like, we can't deal with this Soviet bullshit. So they kind of moved to a more remote area with this guy that they used to know that had this, like, little pig that always wore a tie. I think there was a lot that I was missing in this movie. Like, maybe, like, I guess it's like, kind of funny, but, so we get into this, like, final part. They're out in the country, just doing farm shit or whatever. And one night they're like, hey, let's go to town and have a drink. So, like, all these people from the farm go, and they're all dancing, having a good old time. And Daniel Day-Lewis, his character Thomas, and Teresa, they're both like, oh yeah, this is really nice, we love this. And then it cuts to Sabina in America, and she like gets a letter saying that on their way back from it they died, which I thought was kind of sudden. Oh, right before this too, they had to kill that fucking dog, that Corinna. It's like, Corinna has cancer, let's kill it. The country part took a really long time. It's like the last, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes of the movie, and I don't know what the fuck is going on during it. Not like, oh, I can't understand this. It's just like, here's farm life. Isn't it weird? I don't know. But I mean, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the movie. Okay, but then right after, you see that, or that they're dead, then it cuts back to Thomas and Teresa, the day that they're driving towards their death. And they're sitting there in the car, or in the truck driving, and they just talk about, how much, or how happy they are right now. And that the lightness has sort of like gone away, and they can really enjoy life. And then it kind of just fades out, and you understand that they're going to die here soon. So that was the end of the movie, and that's 3 hours. I cut out a lot. There was a lot that went on, a lot of silence, a lot of fucking, but yeah. Oh yeah, I guess I missed out the part where Teresa fucks some other dude, and like, then she thinks he's like an undercover like police officer for the Soviets going to like blackmail her. So then she tries to kill herself, and then Thomas stops her, and then that's when they move out to the country. So, this is a pretty shitty review so far. So 3 hours, I don't want to say it's not worth the time, because it is a good movie. It's shot very well. All the actors did, like, a fantastic job. Daniel Day-Lewis, who's always just, like, really great in almost everything he does, did a really good job playing Tomas. I mean, the whole time I thought he was a big fucking douche, but, he played the douche well, so it's okay. As far as other things, I mean, what else is there to really talk about? I mean, I just explained the plot to you. I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I mean, this is coming from, like, I understand that it's a very high-rated movie, but, not everyone's into that stuff. Not, like, it's not all about, like, being pretentious and saying what's good. I enjoyed the music throughout the whole thing. It was interesting, because there are extended periods of silence, and I think it filled the gap pretty well. Acting was good. I guess the writing was pretty good. I mean, it's based off a novel, and it feels like they fucking did the whole damn novel. I think just at 3 hours, it feels too long. I mean, maybe that's because I'm young and I don't have a fucking attention span worth of shit, but I don't know. So 7 out of 10 is what I give it. It was a really good movie. It was really long. I had to watch it in 2 sittings, because I like got home from work at like 10, and I was like, oh, let's pop this shit in. And by about 11:30, I was just like, I'm so fucking tired, and it doesn't seem like it's going to end very soon. And then yeah, I had to watch the rest of it today, but I enjoyed it. I'd recommend you do it, or you watch it as well. I mean, 7 out of 10, that's pretty good. I mean, it's no, Meet the Spartans, but it's pretty good. So yeah, I guess that's how I'm gonna, this is probably subject to a lot of changes. This is my first video. Don't really know how these things are gonna work. But yeah, thanks for listening, if you even managed to make it this far, which I doubt anybody did. Thank you, and I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.